I've been out here the last week with my brother in New Mexico building this cob house. It's about twice as tall as me up to there, so maybe about 13 feet tall. And we built the top half above that little water cooler right up here. And it took a week using cob, which is a mud, so it's a mix of clay, 1.5 parts clay, or 2 parts clay to 1 part sand. You mix it up and you get something like this. Then you flatten it out with your feet, move the tarp back and forth to get it all stirred in, right? And then you add just enough straw to cover the top, mush it in with your feet, make it flat, roll it around again, add another layer, and then you end up with, hopefully this is done here. I'm recording a video, 1 sec. Now that's what it looks like before you mix it. Alright. So you end up with a mud sort of substance with straw in it, which is what the cob is. And here is a ladder that I've been working on with my brother and my friend Sol. It's called a Hopi Ladder. Ancient Indians made it. Basically, I went out in the woods and chopped down these 2 trees, which are 12 feet long each. Cut off the ends, so it was about 15 standing upright. Peeled the bark, and then cut down 2 more trees for all these rungs going up. Just measured 12.5 inches between the rungs. Screwed them in. And it was quite a hassle to make sure they were all parallel because the wood warps. And once that was done, we need to add 2 more rungs on, which I'm not going to be able to do before I leave, and maybe add another screw. Sorry, it's really sunny out here. Maybe add another screw in all of them like that to hold them in this way. And then you can use rope. You can wet rope and tie it around here in a figure-8 pattern to cover the screws, so it looks like it was bound with that. But what the head guy here is actually going to do is he's going to get some hide, which is animal skin, what the ancient Indians used. Wet that, figure-8 it, tie it up, and let it dry. It becomes really freaking strong. So that ladder is going to replace this one in here, which is just a crappy wood ladder that's breaking apart to get to the top floor. This is the inside of the house. Here's a... Carrie, what is this oven called?
It's a rocket stove.
A rocket stove. So if you go upstairs, which is quite disconcerting, you're up here. There's the start of the roof. I'll put metal shingles on that later. And just a little nice sleeping area up here. So this is cob when it's dried. And it is quite strong. They put little glass bottles in the walls so you can get light through and for a beauty effect too. So there's the stem of one. I barely fit through that door. And over here is something that one of the builders made. This is a wood fire pizza oven. So this is quite interesting how this is made. You dry stack rocks against the wall, use some cob to fill in the spots if it needs it, all the way around there and around the back. And then, don't quote me on this because I didn't see the entire thing being done, but you lay a wooden plank across here. That's what this is. Then you cob on top of that, and at the very last step you plaster it, so that's what this is. So you cob on top, and you leave sort of a ring in the middle. And what you do with that ring then is you fill it with glass bottles like the ones that you saw in the actual house. And that provides an insulation when you create the oven. Then you, I know I got this wrong somewhere, you cob over the top of those bottles. And you sort of make a mound of sand over everything, coming up to as high as this is. From there then, you add cardboard on the top, and you cob on top of that mound of sand. But the trick with that is you cannot push down, because your sand will spill out. So you have to cob around the edge, then push into that, push into that, push into that. And you get this dome feature. And this actually took 4 layers of cob. This is a sort of a wicker built in to let the steam out. These are fire bricks. And once the cob is dried from making the dome, then you pull out the cardboard, you scoop out the sand, and you have this awesome interior. So that's what that is. And you just put wood on in there, light it up. We need to fashion a door for this. And you cook away. You can put pizzas in there to cook. You can, one of the ladies did here was, on her old wood fire pizza oven, she would make a pizza and then put in a rack of pork ribs. And she'd let the fire die out by itself, close it up, and get up in the morning and it would be just pristine. Supposedly the meat would fall right off the bone. It was the best she ever had. So that's a nice slow cooker too. This entire thing probably weighs about 200 pounds because it's a lot of mud. And as you can see, the cob has the straw that was built into it, like I mentioned. And what this does is it allows, it grabs onto the mud behind it, the cob behind it. So I'll briefly describe that process. These are bales of hay. And what you do is you mix mud and water together, and you get what is called slip, this stuff. And this has been out for a few days, but it's basically muddy water, except a thick consistency like this. And you cover your hay bales completely with that. And you let that dry. No, you don't. You don't let it dry, I lied. So once you cover your hay bales with what's called the slip, you maybe this is more interesting. Once you cover the hay bales with the slip, then you take cob in big balls, put a little slip on it, and slap it in. Really tuck it in there, and you want to push with your thumb or cobber's thumb, which is just basically a stick with a thumb shape on the end. Push through every layer of cob you put on. And what that does is it allows the straw to grab through and grab the other parts, which allows everything to harden together and make this really strong fortress. Now this does chip, but that's because it's straw. It's still really strong. And you just do that over and over, and every time you add a new bale of hay, you just slip the top, put another piece on, completely slipped, and you get this eventually. I had to fill in this little area here with cob because it was just an angle, empty angle. So you can actually use rocks instead of a lot of cob to fill in the empty space. I'm running out of time. As you can see with these, this is what it should look like between the layers when you push in to grab through with the straw. So that's sort of the cob 101. And I might put out another video about it later, guys, when I build a wood fire oven myself. But metal shingles are going to go on the roof, and the house will be completely done. So I'll be back in Washington pretty soon, and I'll catch you around. Rubiksguy out.